I have a man who's gone from being homeless to a property multi-millionaire and also featured on The Secret Millionaire on Channel 4. I have Kevin Green. Thank you for joining me. Your story is amazing. Could you share with the audience just a bit of the background about where you came from and how you got to where you are now?
Briefly, years ago, I fell out with my father, and it led to me leaving home, running away from home at a fairly young age. And I went to the West Country because that's where I had relatives and I felt comfortable, but I didn't want to go and stay and knock on relatives' door and stay with them. I actually lived on the streets for some weeks, and it woke me up a little bit because I lived with the homeless and appreciated home a lot more, I can tell you. Appreciated that I'd been spoilt in life and I was absolutely starving and thinking, where am I going to get food from? And it really taught me to be grounded. So I was kind of persuading lorry drivers to give me what was left on their plate in the dinner caffs, you know. So it came from there right through to then making amends with my father after working away for some years, away from home, and coming back to the home farm to milk the cows there and grow that herd from 40 cows to 400 cows. And that was kind of the interim period. Got married, had 3 beautiful children during that period, and then in 1999 became extremely frustrated with doing that. I was restricted in my mind by the price point that the supermarkets were putting for milk. I wasn't in control of my business. I felt even though I could have continued working and making money, it wasn't going to make me a millionaire, which is always one of the things I wanted to be from that high. Don't ask me why, but it's just a thing. And I started looking around at other options. Took a scholarship to travel the world, interviewed Bill Gates, Richard Branson, amongst others, and Richard's here today, and he's a great friend now and a great mentor to me. He gave me some advice in the beginning. I acted on that advice, and I went down the route of property. Borrowed all the money to buy my first house.
As you do.
Yeah, and I was really scared. I can tell you that was the most scary thing besides getting married that I've ever done. And I drove by that house every day after buying it just to make sure it was still there, you know. That's how naive I was. And that was miles away from my home as well. So it just grew from there. It was like what I call the peanut principle. I just kept adding houses using the simple methods that I've been taught. I did learn from the best. I targeted the best in the industry to do that. And I'm a guy who's like working class, a bit thick in school, dyslexic, you know, was always ousted and felt put down, and yet I'm a multi-millionaire as we speak here. So through hard work, determination and learning from the best, it's got me to a very nice position as I am now.
Yeah. So let's just go back a little bit. As you said, you were brought up in the farming industry.
Yeah.
So, but from very young, you had an idea that you wanted to be an entrepreneur. So do you have any idea where that has come from? If it didn't come from your immediate family, any idea where?
So I've been asked this question before, you know, why do you want to become a multi-millionaire? Well, my answer is why not? It just seems fun. I don't know where the idea for becoming a millionaire came from. It's not the materialistic side of it, it's the buzz of deals, you know, it's the thrill of doing something when it's seemingly impossible, and I think it's the challenging side of it that I like. That was the problem with dairy farming. It was too mundane. It was twice a day. It was, you know, milking those cows, missing the children going to school because I was too busy, and I was in that rat race, you know. So I like challenges, and I think I always have, you know, and that's really what's led me into becoming, you know, financially in a very good position.
Yeah. And why property? That's an interesting area.
I love property,
yeah,
you know.
I do personally as well. So.
One of the, you know, you can stuff your internet trading, you can stuff your stocks and shares as far as I'm concerned, you know, excuse me being blunt, but it's not for me. You know, people that do that, they do it very well. You know, one of the keys that Richard told me was follow your passion. You know, what's in your heart, not your head. Follow this. And I always listen to this, you know. And for me, property is tangible. I can stroke it, love it, it's there. You know, it grows. I'm a bit of an accumulator. I love land and property. It's in my energy, my whole psyche of feeling. And it just, you know, the day I stop loving it, I'll do something else, but I can't honestly see that coming.
And how many houses do you own? How many properties. I think I read somewhere that you are one of the biggest landlords in the country. I think you own the most. One of the few that own the most.
If you take away the joint venture arrangements in companies, I am, it's said, the largest private sector property landlord in UK, and that's not been challenged to date. So, got well over 400 units there, which are high cash flow. And people often ask me, how many properties have you got? Well, that's not really the measurement of success. It's how much cash flow they produce and how much equity you've got in them. It's the money coming off, which is secure money. And that's what I focus on predominantly.
Yeah, sure. And would you say, with the economy the way it is at the moment, that property is a good place to invest at the moment? Because I personally think that, there's no better time really whilst the housing market is so low.
I totally agree with you. I mean, in any business, you want to get in when the price is on its bottom end,
Yeah.
Money's cheap to borrow. Everybody wants to live in houses. In UK in particular, there's a big demand. There's high population per square footage, and I can only see property compounding from here. If somebody wants to start property investing, out of all the years I've been in it, and I started when I was 37, I'm 47 now, so in the 10 years I've been in, this has been the most lucrative entry time of all.
Yeah. And just going back, I just want to go back a little bit and ask you to share your story of how you met Bill Gates and Sir Richard Branson, because I read about it and I was blown away. I was like, oh my goodness. So I know you got a scholarship, so could you just recap a little bit, just for the viewers, just to explain how you go about, or how you managed to meet such a high-profile, successful man?
I think it boils down to, number one, self-belief. That's the only trait that you truly need. And you must believe you're going to achieve that. And I know today that that's really what's driven me to achieving various pillars along my lifeline. And meeting Bill Gates and Richard Branson has been coming from here. I deserved it because I put the effort in. I intended for that to happen. But that's number one. Number two is making sure that you put yourself in the right places. You mix with the right people, because it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And by winning the scholarship, it allowed me access to some very high achievers. Under the scholarship program, we're giving like a Bible, which is naming all of the high achievers and their contacts within UK. And it really fast tracks the route into people like Richard Branson. I didn't have his contact details, but I ended up knocking on his door, and on the third time, had actually some positive response from his wife, and who gave me his mobile phone number. So, it's persistence that paid there. And I interviewed, like you're interviewing me, I interviewed Richard when I had no money in his home in Thrupp in Kiddington.
That's amazing, because most people wouldn't have the nerve to go out there and knock on Richard Branson's door and just to speak to him. I just think that says a lot about who you are, and the fact that you're a go-getter. You go for what you want.
Well, there's two things really. Number one, don't care what people think about you, and I truly don't care. Because not everybody's going to like you or whatever, so don't worry about the responses. And the worst that somebody can say is no.
Yeah.
The best case is they're going to say, yeah, come in then. That's exactly what Richard said. And moreover than that, he recognised, that passion I had. And he asked me more questions during that interview than I was asking him. Why did a dairy farmer want to do this? And then he gave me some guidance as to the path to take. And I truly thank him for that.
And you still keep in contact with him to this very day?
Absolutely. I got his mobile phone number on my phone, and I can phone him at any time, and that's a wonderful experience for me. I used to put people like Richard on a pedestal, and I quickly realised that he's a normal person who's basically done something about his life, and I really recognised that, and it filled me full of, first of all, the fear, because, oh my God, there's no reason why I shouldn't do it now, because he's not brilliant, he's just like us, who's taking action. And then the second thing was, okay, what am I going to do? And it turned out to be property. One of the kind of positive routes of taking the scholarship was I looked at all different business, outside of farming, and property was the thing that felt right, so that was what I followed,
And I think that's really important, because a lot of people tend to think, okay, well, let's try the internet and selling online because that's what people are suggesting. But they really do need to listen to their insights to say, okay, well, I love working with children or with animals or with cars, or I love being in music or fashion or whatever, and follow that.
I mean, for me, property is about people, and it's about interaction, and my tenants are weird, I'm weird, different things happen every day. Although I'm not on the front end of the business as much now, it's just you know, I love talking with people and having a coffee and people watching, and I think that's why I like property investing, because all the negotiations and the dealings thereafter involve people, and I genuinely like to help people and putting a roof over their heads in an affordable way as well, and it just fits in all nicely with all my values as well.
I really resonate with that, Kevin, because I own a number of properties myself, and I work as an estate agent, and I started to learn the market, and I said, okay, well, I'll buy you this house because it gives you somewhere to stay, and it's a win-win situation.
Fantastic.
So I really understand where you're coming from. However, I'm on the front end of it with the tenants, so I have tenants that are not always fantastic. So when you've got the number of properties that you have, you obviously don't manage them all personally yourself, but how do you deal with if you have any issues with tenants or maintenance issues? Because there must be a few.
It's having a power team in place, first of all. I'm reliant on my team. I've got 69 people that run my businesses. Largely what I do is property, there's other business as well. Coming back to the tenant on the front end, there's two main strategies that I use. One is the normal tenancy, where we'd be the landlord dealing with the tenant, and we've got people that manage that. They're people employed by me who dedicate themselves to that business. But I'm not going to pay a letting agent 10% of my rent coming in when I can pay a wage to somebody who works out at 1.5% of turnover of rent. So, it's the statistics there, and it's a better job. With the build teams, we've got our project managers there. But I think interestingly for the people who do like property, there's other passive ways you can put it together. Now, I'm an RSL, which is a registered social landlord. That means I can have the government as my tenant. So I can do a social housing contract with government who can put high priority tenants into my buildings. I provide the building to them, sign the contract, and they deal with everything else. Okay? So I get guaranteed rent payment, I get no void periods. They do the spares and repairs. I don't do that at all. All I have to do is look at the figures, which is my rent coming in, my mortgage interest coming off on the mortgage, and my building's insurance, and everything else is profit. Okay, and that's pure passive profit. I like that a lot. So becoming a well, this is what I teach, So
tell us a little bit about the program and what you teach and how you can help some of the viewers that are interested in stepping into property.
What I'll be teaching shortly here is RSL status and how to get into social housing. It's a bit of a niche. It's been in for just coming up 5 years in UK, but only the really experienced landlords like myself have been offered it at the outset. But I found a way around the system where the government is happy to deal with my delegates, who I bring onto the training, who come under my wing, because I am fronting it and I've got the credibility on that. And Secret Millionaire helped me with that, doing that program as well. So I love PR, I love doing things like this because it helps me to help those other people. And that is recognised as a model clause, a blueprint, which can be followed by all local authorities. So I can bring those people in through the training program, get them up to speed on social housing. And the second thing I do then is show them how to become their own bank. So that's a whole other business of how they can buy money off the money market and then lend that either into their own deals. It's quite nice when you can sit there and you can say, okay, I need a mortgage. And rather than have to go to the mortgage lenders, you can go to your own facility. You can buy off the money market and you can say, well, how much interest do I want to charge myself today then? And there's you're writing your own mortgages. So there's some fast track routes around, and I'm pretty unique in UK. I'm the only person that I know that actually trains those routes. They're a little bit more advanced, but it certainly does help you create passive income streams very quickly.
And how important do you think it is to have coaching or have a mentor or somebody to train you? Because, it sounds like what you do is not something that you really can just Google and get the information and off you go.
Absolutely vital. Alan Sugar spoke just now. He's got 2 people beside him on apprentice advising him. Doesn't always take their advice, does Sir Alan, and we're all the same. But you need those people there. And for me as an entrepreneur who was building business, I had a full-time coach on board, and I paid for that coach. And as somebody who was where I want to be, and that person, Harry Barclay, absolutely spot on. He got me into a very strong position very, very quickly. And, I now do that with myself and my team of coaches for other people. So that is the jewel in the crown. The one-on-one bit is far better for me than a seminar training, because the accountability is absolutely forthright. You have to, be held accountable as a delegate to the coach, and the coach will make sure that certain things happen. And that coach, remember, knows. It's no good me giving you all the information and saying, okay, go and get on with it, because it probably won't happen too well. But if I'm working with you through each nugget of it and we're building that up, then I'm making you do the next bit, okay? And then, putting my size 10s up your backside if you don't. That's really, coaching is a bit about pushing, encouragement, and just making it safe. It's what I call the 3 S's. Safety, certainty, and speed is what coaching will bring in. And of course the second one starts with a C, but I just
but that's okay. That's okay. But I find that that's where a lot of people fall short in that they start well, but then because life gets in the way and things happen, and without having somebody to kind of say, come on, keep going, and have you done what you said you were going to do? Keep them moving forward. I think everybody needs that.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, that is the difference between making it and not making it. When times get tough, that's when you need to dig deep and you need to follow your focus and your goal. If you take your eyes off that and you can make excuses about other people, what I call the victim mentality, other things, we all get problems. I mean, I've had tons of things go wrong, and you've got to bash through that and then look for the solution to that problem each time. The coaches can help you with that because they've got a whole toolkit, and you can pick, okay, I want that bit to do that solution there, and the confidence starts building, But you've got to remember your passion, because you're a long time dead. If that drive or will and determination is not big enough, it ain't going to happen. And on our training programs, we refuse the right of entry, because if I ask them how committed they are to their wealth and they don't tick it as number 10 in a 1 to 10 scale, I'm not interested. Because the biggest success is not driven from externally, it's from internal, it's from the person themselves, their whole energy, their passion, their drive. If that's not there, forget it. That's got to be there.
Not there.
No,
and it's so great because the money that you've made, you just spoke about the secret millionaire, to be able to give back like you did, that must have been so good.
One of the reasons for becoming wealthy financially is so that I can give back, and that's one of the most pleasing, humble, fulfilling things ever on the planet, whether it's time and or money, or you can just help people. I'll go back to Richard Branson, a very holy person, I would say. Okay, now Richard, he said a number of things to me, really on encouragement. He also a couple of statements, and one of the things I never forget, and I was a bit blown away by this. He said, "You're going to be a light worker," and I thought, what does that mean? At that time, and it mulled over for a couple of years until that word kept popping up in different places. And what it means is you are destined to throw light into other people's lives in some way. And for me, it's been through speaking. Little did I know at that time, but it's been through the voice and the word, and through inspiring and encouraging people to perform. So I actually charge for my time there, and then 30% of that speaking fee goes into Make-A-Wish charity that I'm an ambassador of. So I always give anything I take on speaking as an income, 30% of net profit goes across into Make-A-Wish Foundation. So it's led to a position today where I've personally gifted over £300,000 into Make-A-Wish alone, by virtue of that business. I think when you give, you receive in this world, and that's important.
Yeah, it really is. And I know that your sister passed away, didn't she?
Yeah.
You've done some work in giving to them as well, and that must have been quite a difficult time for you.
Yes, I mean, if you look at entrepreneurs, I've studied them before becoming one, and you look at timeline, I'd be a typical example really of destitute, pain, torture, and then you want to do something about it, And it's almost like you have to go through that pain before you realise that you need to do something.
Yes.
Call me devil's advocate on this if you like, but, should we create that pain in ourselves, that uncomfortable feeling, before we actually achieve, It's a big question. I know for me it was Like when my sister passed away, we shared our birthdays on exactly the same day. When I was 22, she was 20 at that time. And I remember saying to myself, I'm never, ever going to waste a second of my time. Because I've got choices. She didn't have those choices, they were taken away. So it came to dairy farming. When I got tired of it, I thought, right, let's think back to my sis. You know, we're very close. And it was like, oh my God, I'm unhappy with this. I'm going to change it. And that was a driver really to look in for something else, hence the scholarship, hence what happened afterwards.
I'm a great believer in every bad situation something good will come out of it eventually.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a testimony to what.
I mean, she's with me all the time in spirit anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. So if there's one thing that you could give the viewers to take away, one point of action or one piece of advice, what would you say to them today?
Get up every morning, put your hand on your heart and say, I believe in me, because self-belief's the key. If you get that, everything else comes.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Kevin Green, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, lovely to meet you as well.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Kevin Green.
Thank you.